Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Daily Refinement. This is our Wednesday mastermind call. We do this Monday through Friday, but specifically on Wednesdays, we do it live on YouTube. So I'm pretty excited today because I think I have a really good tip to help you guys list more consistently. I'm currently taking some toddler training for Natalie. She is 21 months old now, so she's going to be 2 in a couple months. And the class I'm taking is like Little People, Big Feelings or something like that. And I'm going through the course, and it is exactly like dealing with resellers who are listing 10 or less items. Because as I feel like there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of meltdowns, there's a lot of temper tantrums. And so getting to that next level in the course, it gave me a really good idea. Okay, so the first two things are babies and newborns and toddlers benefit a lot from consistency and predictability. So, as an example, this is the best example and the best relation to resellers ever. Okay, because what happens is when you're a baby, you don't know. Sorry, I'm just loading this into the Patreon. You don't know what causes things. Okay. So, for example, when you cry, you don't know what the result is going to be. Like, is your mom going to come or not? You don't know. So, what happens is parents can send their kids mixed signals, and it makes kids blow up and cry and melt down. Like, one time the kid cries and the parent comes, and the second time they cry and a different parent comes, they just don't know. So, this is exactly what happens to resellers. Something happens they don't expect, and it throws them off for the whole day. They cry, they go on Facebook and complain, I can't believe eBay did this, I did that, and I was expecting this and it didn't happen. And they melt down exactly like how Natalie acts when she asks for something. She asks for milk, and there's more milk than she thought in the cup. Her world has been destroyed. So now after reading this or watching this course, I was like, holy crap, this is exactly what YouTube and the Facebook groups are like the normal Facebook groups. People basically melt down and chaos ensues whenever there's some changes. So, okay, here's the key. Everyone needs consistency and predictability. That's how you sleep train a baby or a toddler, right? Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, same routine before. The first time I took the course, it was called Taking Care of Babies. I didn't realize that I don't have any adult training. I'm like, wow, this baby, my Natalie, has more training than I do. She goes to bed at the same time, eats similar meals, training. The daycare that we go to has math built into the day. Like even for toddlers, they're like, oh, this is one banana. This is two bananas. Like it's built into the day. But for us, do we have accounting built into the day? It's like, Beth, it's 10 o'clock, time to learn some accounting. Oh, 11 o'clock, it's time to go outside in the sun, get some air. Okay, it's 12 o'clock, time for lunch. If you don't eat lunch, you'll be cranky in the afternoon. There's no adult training, right? So when I was looking at the tantrums that people throw, it's because they get into survival mode. Okay, something happens and that they don't expect, they freak out and they think they're not going to get love or sales or they're going to die, and then they act all crazy when in reality it's like that. It's not eBay out to get you. There's like you're still going to be loved. It's just like the fundamentals part, the consistency and predictability. You need to create that so that you don't have chaos and meltdowns and and putting people in timeout or reprimanding yourself doesn't do anything. So this is the key. This is the secret right here. You need consistency and predictability, but then this is the part that we need to do as adults because we're not 2 years old anymore. You need flexibility. Okay, so even though my day is rigid and I have all these things that I'm supposed to do, it's not doesn't go as planned ever. Like sometimes this call goes a little bit longer, starts a little bit earlier. Sometimes somebody has a question. And there's this saying that sounds so silly, but I think that it applies to us, which is mad isn't bad. Okay. So when your kid's throwing a tantrum, it's not bad. They just don't understand. Resellers, when you are mad or frustrated, it's because you don't understand. If you understood what causes sales to go up and down, what causes traffic, how you find items, how you build relationships, you'll never be mad. You'll never be frustrated because you know things take time. You understand that there's a lot of competition. You understand how to make yours stand out. So I couldn't believe this toddler course was like the secret to me unlocking how to get people past 10 sales a day. And then if you want to be elite, it's just more consistency, more predictability, and more flexibility. Because when you run a bigger operation, there's way more things that can go wrong. So you have to be flexible and ready when it doesn't work. When you go to the flea market and this week they're closed, or your employee doesn't show up, or you have to attend to a family member this week or this month or this year. You have to put your goals on hold because you're taking care of somebody else. So as you get older, you have to do it. But I think that the toddler training is actually more relevant than the newborn training, because the newborn training, there are people who just cry no matter what, but most people are like toddlers. They walk around when something is not as expected, then they throw their tantrum. So I was just thinking about, I get these emails. I called eBay and I can't believe they responded to me this way. And I'm thinking, I can. Like when people are like, "Oh, I can't believe you were suspended on eBay," I it doesn't surprise me because like I already know when you're growing that fast and you don't have the proper receipts and you're not covering all your bases and it's unexpected, it's a red flag. So it doesn't surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if I get my account back. It might surprise other people, but for me, not really, because I didn't do anything illegal. They always, for the most part, I think most people I know that have been suspended have been reinstated. Even people who sell counterfeit goods, which is not what I did. So anyway, I just feel like this training is really good. And I like the concept of the reason why people get frustrated and mad is they don't have enough knowledge. That's the real key to why a toddler has big feelings. They don't understand, right? And so one more thought on this, and then we'll move on to people's questions, which is toddlers don't calm down until they feel emotionally and physically safe. Okay. So I'm really tall compared to my baby. So she's like most comfortable with me if I'm like laying on the ground or sitting on the floor because I'm not as big. So I was thinking maybe there's a lot of people who are intimidated by reselling, because you look at people selling hundreds or thousands of items a week or a day, and then you shrink down and you get paralyzed and can't do it. But we're adults now, and so you can find places that are more emotionally and physically safe, like maybe this group. Come in here, present your idea. We're making sure that we don't, like, when I started, people were pretty mean, but I think that that's improved over time. Like I remember being in Amazon groups, and people like Jack were like, "Yo, if you can't figure out how to do a listing, you should just kill yourself, because like you're never gonna make it as an Amazon seller if you can't even make a listing. Like if we have to help you do this, you will not make it. You should just quit now." But that's not really how this works. The more knowledge you get, the easier it gets. So that's what we're here for. Hopefully you guys have some questions, but now I know the secret is consistency, predictability, and then flexibility. Because guess what? You toddler, obviously sleep training is best, and your baby goes to bed at 7 and sleeps 12 hours. That's best, but it never goes like that. So you have to be flexible. So those three things, the key to a happy toddler: consistency, predictability, flexibility. The key to a great eBay store: consistent listing, predictable results, flexible. And if you're not flexible, you're going to switch into survival mode. every time something happens, and you're going to be ruined, as they say. So I'm super excited about this because my goal is to be an effective communicator, and just need to make sure that people understand if you're not flexible, this doesn't work. I wish I could just go to the flea market and every single thing is CC Filson, size 34, gently used, right? But it's never like that. Sometimes you got to sell Old Navy and Gap because that's all you can find, and you got to make it work. And if you're selling Old Navy and Gap, please don't expect CC Filson sell through and CC Filson prices. I was also thinking one more idea that I want to share with you guys, and it was inspired by like Linda and jewelry sellers. Um, Usually, if you're buying a small, like anything under 4 ounces, um, if there's a $10 difference between what you like, if it's first class, a $10 difference between what you buy it for and what you sell for, you'll probably be okay if it sells fast. So even something you buy for 50 cents, if you sell for $10 plus shipping, you're going to be fine, because that's like, even though it's not a huge amount of profit and you have to sell lots of items, that's usually not what gets people in trouble. It's like the small margin priority mail. That's like more difficult. Like I would probably pick a Old Navy active wear t-shirt, which is not very expensive. These are like $20 new. I'd rather sell that because it's first class than an Old Navy sweater, because like an Old Navy sweater has to ship priority, and so you're getting more fees, more taxes on that transaction, and it's interesting, right? So it's almost like I'd rather sell stuff for $9.99 plus first class shipping than $15.99 plus priority shipping. It's like a little bit safer because shipping is cheaper. So everyone here should think about what your average cost of shipping is. Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 10, 11? And then you won't melt down when something happens and you have to sell a pair of shoes or a sweater for under $10. You won't be shocked when you figure out your profits like $1.77, because you understand all your fees. So I just thought it was really cool. And yes, Mandy is saying you'd be surprised how much parenting and managing people relate. Yes, I just didn't realize it was that, like, we should go all the way down to newborn and toddler to manage people, because it really works. Because if you like, we have been narrating um, with Natalie to teach her how to talk. So like, hey, we're walking to the couch and look, there's a tomato on the floor. Let's pick it up. So like with reselling, right? Since we're more advanced than that, we're planning in advance. So I think this would be useful for these guys, for, I mean, not these guys, for everyone. If I was like, hey, Pixie, today our plan is 25 listings a day, right? So what we're going to do is yesterday we will have already prep 25 items to be ready to go. We're going to walk over to our photo station. The 25 items are already ready. If they're not ready, that's okay. Let's plan so tomorrow can be a success. Let's get these 25 items ready. Okay, then this part is key. So make the plan, reveal the plan, do the plan. If it doesn't go as planned, you pick the smallest thing that you can do to move forward if it's not ready. So let's say you get to the photo station and it's messy and there's nothing ready to go. Then you would say, okay, what can I do? Let's wipe off the photo station. Let's put things away. That's small. Then, okay, let's get one thing ready to photograph and set it up. And then, so planning in advance, revealing the plan, explain the details, put something small in charge, or give them something small that they can be in charge of. That's how you would train a toddler. But that's the same thing for an adult. People get super duper overwhelmed with all the things they need to do. But you just got to do that over and over again. Make a plan, try to do the plan, look at the details of the plan. Then it's not going to go as planned. So then you have to pick something small that you can control. So Matt says the best musicians know how to improv. They understand the underlying routine. Yeah, I mean, I've seen YouTube videos where like the piano is out of tune or they play a note wrong during an improv, and then they just keep playing that note wrong and keep going back to that off note, and it sounds like it's on purpose. So like, what are you gonna do when? Okay, so as an example, I've been buying some lots, and lots are dangerous, and they're not for the faint of heart. So I bought a free people lot. Stuff came. I had around 38 pieces that were damaged. Okay, so strap needed to be sewn on. Um, strap needed to be sewn on. The buttons were broken. Clasp was damaged. Some like, excuse my language, but um, asshole person bought the item, like wore it to a wedding, spilled wine on themselves, and then returned it because these are all store returns, right? So like, I can't believe people will return something that they heavily damaged, but for some reason, Anthropology bought it back. So all of this stuff, these 38 items, right? Instead of me trying to repair and spending a month fixing and rehabbing these, right? I could have thrown them away. I could have discarded them because sometimes I try not to redonate things that are damaged because it's like bad for the environment and also can't really be resold. But I just put it on auction. It sold for $76. That's $2 a piece. It saved me having to go to the thrift store. Somebody who does know how to rehabilitate clothing can get their money out of it. I took the L on that, on those 38 pieces, but that's okay because I bought 2,000 pieces. So the 38 pieces is just a tiny percentage. Let's just call it shrinkage.
How did you describe the lot?
Um,
Did you say
da-
damage?
damaged and stained Anthropology. And then I showed all the pieces. But like, now I don't have that in my life. It's gone. It's somebody else's problem. And also, they got a good deal. There was a Mara Hoffman dress that has a retail of $400 with a broken strap that I did not fix. So the person got 38 pieces. They could just sew one strap on and get their money back, and the rest of the pieces are profit. And I would recommend for them, since the items are store returns, I would wash everything, see if the stains can come out. Um, Easy repairs I would do, and then the rest of them I would do the same thing. I would just lot it and send it to the next person. Tom was saying his wife would say, you just described me. I just feel like, how many of us get into a state of chaos and melt down when things don't go as planned? And how many of us, when things go wrong, we just smile and continue our day? I can't even, like, I don't even have time to explain how many things went wrong. Like, there's so many things that go wrong every day. You just roll with the punches. It's got to go. So, Christine, what do you think of this idea? Hopefully she can chat.
Christine, me?
Yeah.
Of the toddler training to reseller training?
Yeah. What's the you said I'm on to something. So what is it? What do you think?
Oh, you are on to something about the toddler training for resellers because it makes a lot of sense. And even when I was counseling, it was all about retraining most everything in their life, in a person's life, especially when it comes to addictions, because their lifestyle is so incredibly jacked up that you have to retrain everything.
Yep.
So you're on to something. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah, I think
it makes a lot of sense.
everyone needs to back up and, like, you guys realize we were all babies at one point.
Hmm.
So like, you're just a baby at reselling. So there's nothing wrong with that. But that's why you're so easily frustrated.
Absolutely. I remember being frustrated about cameras. And I
Yeah.
mean, I just was about in tears. And then I got help. And it was just like I felt safe and understood. And it was just like, oh, okay. This is easy.
So originally, Christine, this is kind of how I looked at it. I was like, people are so entitled and people suck because why would you know how a camera works? If you've never seen a camera before, if you've never taken professional photos, and you pick up a camera, there's like 8 buttons that you don't even know what the abbreviations stand for. Why would you be frustrated that you don't know how to use it? I'm like, why would you know how to use it? There's no like nothing in your life before related to that. How come you are so entitled that you think you can just pick up something and know how to do it? You think you can just come out of the womb and list 20 items, right? But now I realize it's not arrogance and ego. It's lack of knowledge that causes people to do that. Because like
Exactly.
you're an adult, maybe you're not like, I know everything. Everything should be easy. Maybe you're just like, you pick it up and you have nothing, you have no idea. Then the meltdown ensues. So
Hmm.
it's the knowledge.
Yes, I agree.
So,
Absolutely.
so I think of my reselling business as an angsty teenager, right? It's not really there yet where it's a full-fledged adult that can take care of itself. None of us have that except for maybe tech. Only one person maybe has a full-fledged adult reselling business that can take care of itself. Everybody else is here trying to keep it alive. So I think that's where people get caught up. It's too not enough knowledge. Beth, feedback? You're unmuted.
Oh, I'm unmuted, sorry.
You're good.
No, I think that's really interesting is that like this whole thing about, toddler stuff. It's like, I don't know. I think I missed some steps there, but that's okay. And,
Yeah, me too. I didn't
I mean,
get
and I can actually look to a time in my life where my parents went silent. Something happened. So
Yeah.
it makes sense. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I always said it's like this happened because my mom rode a red tricycle. But, so point being is like move on. It's how it is, fix it. So every day I learn wisdom here, Chris.
I just think that the everyone would benefit from more consistency, more structure, more predictability, and the key part here being more flexible. You got to have all these things. It doesn't work without that. So
But if you're too flexible, you have to get the structure first and then be flexible because you're just flexible. Your life has no plan.
Flexibility is the last part.
Yeah.
The last part. You need the plan. You need to review the plan. You need to reveal the plan. That's why, like in this group in the morning, sometimes I get frustrated because I ask people for their plan and no one says anything. And I'm like, I can tell you guys my plan for the day every day. I have an idea of what I want to get out of today before I start. But a lot of people have no idea what they want to get done today.
Yeah. 2 days ago, I sat here during the call and wrote my to-do list. And that night I had crossed off every single thing on my to-do list. And I was like, oh joy. So I'm working on yesterday's and today's. So working the plan. Now I need to be planning it the night before. But
you can, I think it's effective to plan the night before because your brain can process something while you're sleeping. Because like how many people say sleep on it? Right? People don't say think about it in the morning and process it during your whirlwind of a life. That doesn't really make sense, right? But maybe you can process it when you go to sleep. But now I think I have a better understanding of why people get so frustrated. They're a toddler reseller walking around. They see somebody listing 30 a day. They have no idea how that works. And they cry and jump up and down and throw things and complain. And I thought it was because, oh, why can't I do that? That's what I thought it was. Like, hey, there's something wrong with me. I can't list that many items. But now I get it. It's the lack of knowledge. Because if you knew how, then you wouldn't say that. So That's like when you're starting a new category, you don't have all the knowledge yet. So you need that structure and consistency. So I was talking to Tech on Monday, and there was a little bit of noise, or maybe this was yesterday, about like, oh, we don't want to do it text way. Well, I was just thinking, maybe what he does is like takes photos, uses a camera, plugs the memory card into his computer, lists, understands the listing flow. That's really the mechanics of text reselling. But there's more to it, right? He was explaining that he spends time reading the seller updates, right? How many people in here read every single seller update? He spends time becoming a category expert. Like he'll look up a sold in his category. He looks through tens of thousands of, looks through millions of items, figuring out what's best, what's not best. He's personally listed hundreds of thousands of items. Like, so it's just structure. He's done a lot of stuff. And before, he used to work Tree Crew, list, and then also do that ridiculous crew where you drive around, look for scrap. So Scrap Crew. So like fitting that all, and he was also a dad, number one dad. So like trying to do all that stuff, you need some structure. And then when you're doing all kinds of stuff, your resilience goes way up. So a bunch of people sent me all this data talking about like after about 1 year of your kids going to childcare, the immunity of the parents goes way up. But the first year is pretty bad because like you're being exposed to literally hundreds of different people's germs because you have all the kids, all their parents, and then wherever their parents go. So this first year of reselling, guys, you're being exposed to all these reseller toxins and diseases. And after that, you have immunity. And I can tell Catherine, hey, I think that the order of your title doesn't matter. As long as you have the brand and what it is, you're good to go. She could hear that advice and be like, no, that's probably not correct. Probably the order of the title, it does matter. Or you could be like, oh no, it's easier to take photos on a phone and transfer to your computer. If you have a lot of knowledge, you would be like, that's actually not easier. You could do it that way, but like the easier way would be to avoid the transfer, right? The more knowledge you have, the easier it is to understand. But now I think that most people aren't suffering from ego. They just have no knowledge. So yesterday, I also had a lady email me saying she got her first 2 returns. So she hasn't had a return all year. And she got 2 returns in the same day. She's like, should I be worried? And can I cut it as a reseller? And I was thinking, you should worry about everything. Worry about your return rate, worry about lowering your return rate, worry about listing items that have a lower return rate, worry about maybe this customer defrauding you. Think about all these different things. Maybe not worry is the wrong word, but try to understand all these different components. And can you cut it as a reseller? No, if you can't think about all these things that can go wrong, because they are going to go wrong at some point. So you can't shut down and curl into a ball when these things happen. You just have to move on and don't be like, I dare you to return this item in your description. That's pretty bold. You don't have to say like, for any reason whatsoever, return this and I will pay you in full. Like that's too much. You don't need to go to that length to invite controversy into your life. But whenever there's something that goes as planned, you got to be okay. So Scott says anti-squirrel brain immunity. Yeah, that's right. People with the least amount of knowledge have the most squirrel. Yeah, that's true for me. I'm one of those people that look smarter than they are, way dumber than I look. So like not having that knowledge makes you squirrel. Like as an example, let's look at this. If you are in 2 categories instead of 1, do your odds go down of being successful? It's always yes, but it doesn't seem like that, right? With a limited amount of knowledge, you would say, oh no, you don't want to put all your eggs into one basket. But Every single study shows that multitasking doesn't work. Every study. There's not one study that's like, you know what would be great while you're driving? Eating. If you eat while you drive, way better driver. There's no study that says that because it's not true. But a lot of us don't have a lot of knowledge and we think, you know what? If I put all my eggs in one basket, what happens if I lose it? You just put all your eggs in a different basket. And your success is fast. Like, are you guys worried about tech? Let's say that his 10 businesses collapse and for some reason all of his real estate is repossessed. Are you guys worried about him climbing back to the top? I'm not. He already has all the knowledge. He would just start over. So like he had that saying on his phone that was like, if all of the money in the world was removed from everybody, in 10 years, all the money would be back in the same hands again. Right? So like if there was a global reset, in 10 years, all the money would go back to the same people. So knowledge is key. The more knowledge you have, it's the anti-squirrel. It's the, what is that called? The antidote. The antidote to all of our problems is knowledge. Johnny says it's the equivalent of people that have to file bankruptcy. People crawl themselves out of that hole all the time. I know, right? So sometimes the Grant Cardone comes up a lot in the group because he has that like do or die mentality. And one of his sayings is don't be a little bitch. And I probably should buy one of those bracelets and put it on because sometimes I feel like so weak compared to everybody else. And I think that the answer is almost always suck it up. I couldn't believe that when I went to the flea market on Sunday, there was hundreds of people there at 4 a.m. That literally blew my mind. 32 degrees, raining, and hundreds of people out there looking for stuff. Couldn't believe it. Like, and it's supposed to close when it rains. So not only did it not close, but it was packed. So I love it. All right, hopefully, are we done? No questions, no feedback? I only did the first 5 chapters of the course too for toddlers. So how long is the course? We got some more little people, big feelings. Big little feelings. Big little feelings is the name of the course. Carl says he's done flea markets in the snow. Oh man, that sounds awesome. I love it. Yep. Well, I don't want to be a snowflake, so I just couldn't believe it.
The flea markets go year round in New Jersey at the Meadowlands, the parking lot for Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, relentless. No, it doesn't matter. Snow, sleet, rain, doesn't matter. 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 500 degrees. It's people's livelihoods. It's all storage unit guys. Like
that's true.
Where else are they gonna do?
It's people's livelihoods.
Maybe not this week. It'll be a little bit difficult. Like, but next week they'll be right back at it.
How are the flea markets up there?
In New Jersey, every day.
How are they?
Awesome.
Excellent. I don't even live in New Jersey, and I can tell you they're good.
I might take a drive up there.
Yeah, I would look into it. There's a lot, man. There's a lot up there.
I think that's right. You don't want to mess with somebody's livelihood. Brian says that a lot of that deals with accepting responsibility for everything. Yeah, I agree. I think that, I mean, I'm complaining about 32 degrees. 5 degrees is a whole different story. Um,
I
maybe-
drove home from the bar last night. Well, I went out with friends. I wasn't like just at the bar. But anyway, 29 below zero actual temperature driving home.
the wind chill, that's,
Miserable. That was not the wind chill. That was just
oh
the
my
temperature.
God.
Where do you live?
Minnesota. So damn cold.
Yeah.
It's going to get super, super cold in South Florida, and it's going to be 58 degrees on Christmas Day in Big Pine Key.
I love it.
Super cold, dude.
We have a blizzard coming right before Christmas.
Henley is asking, are some people just not cut out to be resellers? Then no, some people are not cut out to learn, and that's on them. If you are here to learn and you like it, if you come to this group and listen to people for 22 days on the morning call, text call on Tuesday, all the category calls, and you didn't learn anything, shame on you. Like, everyone is cut out. It's just the more knowledge you have, the more cutthroat you become. That's all it is. Because like 5-degree weather, can you actually prepare yourself for that? Probably a little bit. It probably still sucks, but I'm sure there's some kind of clothing that you can wear that reduces the pain.
Chris, people live in like Alaska and Antarctica, man. Like it's nothing, dude. Like you're like I can't explain to you how much I'm laughing as you're talking about this right
I
now.
know,
Like there's
I
nothing,
know.
there's nothing, the cold is nothing. The weather is not a factor in you being able to go out there. Period. The time is also not a factor. 2 o'clock in the morning, 5 degrees, like
Yeah,
that's where the deals are. Then like that's
that's
where you
where
want to be.
that's where the deals are. That's so
And
right.
I assure you, there are flea markets here, 5 degrees at 3 o'clock in the morning, where the best, where those deals that tech talk about, where like the guy had like whatever thousands of polos, all those deals.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a lot of the time. That's when they happen. Not always, but a lot of the time.
And also, that's okay. Not only does that when they're gonna happen, but that person's motivated to sell, man.
Yeah, they want to go home.
They
Hey,
want to
why
go
wouldn't
home.
they?
There may not be that many customers that day. They're moving it.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said it. No bad weather, just bad. You're just not wearing the right clothing. I'm telling you, there's clothing people walk outside in Alaska. Like, look at all day long. People live in it. It's nothing.
I know somebody said to tech, well, the places that have all the good stuff are like an extra 15-minute drive. And he was like, so what? If it's an
Yeah,
extra
exactly.
15-minute drive to go get it, go get it.
People that
Yeah.
live in the cities are like 15 minutes is nothing. You know, people that live in small towns are like 15 minutes. That's
So,
kind of a long time, and it's
That's
really
what it
not a
is.
long time at all.
It's where you
Hey.
live. Yeah.
Chris, I want to go back to the weather.
Yeah.
I've been selling on eBay for a while, and we had a hurricane. I want to say, oh my God, I can't remember what it was. I think it's the year that we had 4 hurricanes, 2005, maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, tech was selling on eBay, I'm sure. And we had no power for 11 days. But I was able to plug in an extension cord to my neighbor's house because they had power. They were on a different grid. And I sat in my computer and I shipped because I was able to I think we had a landline then. We had a dial-up connection. But the point being is I didn't miss back then. And I have a cell phone now. So if I had a hurricane, I could still ship because I can do scan barcodes, I could list, I could do all of that. And I'm sure that when tech had no power, he probably has a generator. But if he didn't have a generator, he would still list. So it's like, there's almost no situation, unless there was like the cell towers were completely down, that we could not get a minimum number of things up and we couldn't ship. You know, it's like you just adapt to your environment.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I think that's 2 people in the UK are saying there's no bad weather. It's just you're just not wearing the right clothing. I went to London in January. It was freezing, but everyone was fine. Everyone was fine. Life goes on.
I will say I was so
Well-
fired up today to do work because the people that I met with last night were my former teacher friends. And it was just story after story after story of how bad it still is and how they want to get out of teaching. And I'm so grateful that I'm not teaching. I was like, I don't know why you guys are still in it. You need to get out.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting to me. When people come, because like most of my friends are teachers too. When they complain, I hold my tongue, but I want to say, you voluntarily work there, right? Like you signed up for that. But I don't want to be a jerk, so I don't say that. But in my mind, I'm never like, I really hate my situation. You know what I'm gonna do tomorrow? Nothing.
I'm going to keep going to
I'm gonna
that
keep doing
situation.
it. I know it's wild. We live in a country where you can change your destiny.
Yeah.
Let's see. People who come out to the flea market in the winter are dedicated customers. Yes. Because I mean, that's what I do, Carl. I text my people. I'm like, you gonna be there? They're like, I'll be there if you be there. So I'll go if you go. So okay, I'll go, you go, we'll suffer together.
No, I went even if they didn't come, but
Oh,
they knew that I usually had something set aside in my Jeep for them. So they didn't want me to sell it to somebody else. So, and to quote Ebenezer Scrooge, the Bob Cratchit, they're called garments, man-made garments to keep warm.
Mm.
So it's got to dress for the occasion. It's game day. Green Bay Packers.
I love it. Kevin says there's less competition when it's cold. I think so. My friend just moved to PA. I went to his wedding earlier this month, and it is a lot cheaper in PA than California. I'll say that. It's very interesting. He bought a giant mansion for like 150,000. Christine, you're still unmuted. Do you have a question, comment?
Yeah, I just unmuted. I wanted to say something about using all of this information about being a toddler and learning things, and then also about the going to a flea market when it's frozen outside. When we are reselling and everybody's talking about this recession, we don't have to bow down to that. Use this information when your brain or when you're listening to too much secular news and they're talking about how everything's more expensive, then just stop and think about, really, can we move forward with this? How can, using this information with the thought of a recession, we don't have to bow down to it.
That's
You
right.
see what I'm
So
saying?
yeah, so next week on this call, I want to do a goal call for 2023 on Wednesday. So you guys prepare. We talk about goals every single day, but specifically next week, let's talk about 2023. And guess what? Everyone, you better have growth goals for next year.
Let's go.
Let's go. Because I'm just thinking like, I don't care. There's a recession next year. I don't care. You guys shouldn't care either. We're going up.
Going up. Let's go.
Going up. I just think I have big goals for next year, even though I think it's gonna be a grind.
And then that's when you have the Grant Cardone bracelet and you look at it and you go, okay, it's a grind. All right, giddy up. Don't be
Yeah.
a little.
You know what? I think people who are successful, this is gonna sound so weird, wouldn't want it any other way. You know what I mean? Like people on top, they're not like, you know what? I wish this was easier. They don't really act like that.
No, I think that when we become successful, we become adapted to the grind, to the excitement of the grind.
Yeah, the challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge and it's exciting. Yeah, there wasn't, Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
The
There's
grind is
people who
real.
look for shortcuts, and maybe we are spoiled because of the internet, and there's so much easy access to information. Sometimes shortcuts work. Like, that's why I think people are kind of screwed up, because let's say you've never heard of Patagonia, which is not that uncommon. You go somewhere, you hear about Patagonia on a haul video, you go into a thrift store, you find Patagonia that's mistagged by the staff for $2. You go home. You don't need to do a very good job to make a profit if you buy Patagonia for $2. So that's not what real business looks like. What real business looks like is you got to sell 40 J. Crew sweaters for $12 plus shipping, because that's how you can get enough items to reach your listing goal. But the issue is, Brian, sometimes a toddler cries and they get what they want. That's why. If that never happened, if a toddler cried and they never got what they wanted, they would stop crying. If there was never an easy button, that never happened, people wouldn't do it. But they get reinforced that it works sometimes to just cry. And that's why I was trolling some of the groups and saying, like, should Whatnot and eBay have minimum wage to help people along as they're learning? And I was seriously trolling, but a lot of people were like, yes, eBay should subsidize people who are learning and give them free profit. So let's say you bought something for $5. I'm sorry, you bought something for 50 and you sold it for 20. eBay would give you $30 in credit so that you could learn and be better for next time. But
I would have to hit them. I don't, I'm not a violent person, but I would have to hit them straight in the throat.
no, because like people are saying, oh, it's hard when you start. So like, wouldn't you want to help people when they're starting so that they don't give up? I mean, logically, I think if you're thinking, yeah, but then that person is not as resilient. You know what I mean? Like, if you lose money on a sale, should eBay compensate you? I don't think so, but it's just
No.
interesting.
That would be like if you had a toddler that was ready to start walking and you always carried them and you never allowed them to learn to fall and walk.
Yeah, that's right. Or
You know?
fall.
Or fall. Yeah.
Because it's gonna be rocky. Like, there's no parental advice. It's like, if your kids fall during walking, that's it. No more walking. You just carry them from now on.
Yeah. No, it's called enabling. And no, we are not going to enable. No.
No, but there's parents who do that.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
There are parents that
Helicopter
are
parent.
like, I think that's like the proverbial, like, 3 years old, still breastfeeding, co-sleeping, kid can't walk or talk yet, but they're 3 already. But with no developmental
Right.
hindrances, but just they never have had to walk or eat before. But yeah, I really like this toddler training, because I made a mistake of thinking that everyone was just full of themselves, thinking this is so easy. But really what it is, in my opinion now, is people think, people have, there's a huge difference between what they know and what they see, and they get flustered. Right? You hear people say, I get 30 items done by 9 in the morning and take the rest of the day off and have a full-time job and hang out with my kids. And people are like, you do 30 before 9 in the morning and I can't even do 5 all day. So there's that disconnect there. And then they do a temper tantrum.
Right. Well, it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse to retreat.
No, but now I understand why they have that tantrum, because the disconnect of knowledge is so great. Because, like, I have an idea of what 250 items looks like. Like, when tech talks about doing that, I'm like, you know what? That's possible. You could do 250 a day. I mean, it would be insane, but I know kind of how it looks. I wouldn't say that's impossible. Uh-oh. So Brian is saying, I have a question here because the saying goes, if knowledge is all that we needed, then everybody would have a six-pack and be rich. Right? If all we needed was knowledge. But I think that knowledge is what you need to not melt down when you see success. So most people have no knowledge and no action. There's people who have the knowledge and no action. That's different. But go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking. Yeah, I mean, you need knowledge. There's no doubt about that. But you need way more action than knowledge. Like in this group, we have all the knowledge, and I've been guilty of not taking enough action. And that's the bedrock of Cardone's 10x. It's action. And so I just wonder, like thinking about the toddler analogy, like, yeah, you know, you cry because you're going to get a benefit from that. But at what point, like in a lot of Facebook groups, people are crying and crying and crying. I guess what they're getting from that is other people commiserating with them, and you know, and I guess they gain something from that, but you're not actually moving closer to getting what you really want, which is more sales on eBay. So like what is that mentality block that prevents that in some people? Is it just a mindset thing?
Well, I think if you guys or the first like 9 months of the year, you guys, I was addicted to massive action. All I was doing was like waking up and just trying to squeeze as much life out of my day every single day. I was obsessed with that. And I think that the only thing that it's just there's a lot of people who take massive action on the wrong things. That's one part of it. But I think we can fix people who take massive action on the wrong things versus know all the right things but don't have any action.
Do you think a lot of people are taking massive action, but the massive action is looking for different easy buttons? Like I've done that with VAs and different things. Like you're always looking for a shortcut, and like Tech has laid it out. And the irony is, like Tech says, he's the laziest person because he's figured it out. And even though it looks like the most difficult way to do it, it's really not.
Yeah, it's like unusual that the laziest way to do it is the right way the first time.
And it almost seems like it's a cultural thing. I mean, like I was thinking about that commercial. What is it? The Office Staples or whatever. They have that commercial with the easy button. Like it's kind of built into our culture to look to almost think like technology is always the answer, that there's always a shortcut, that there's got to be a program, there's got to be list perfectly, there's got to be something that's going to make your life easier. And many of us have tried these and it's not. But then you look at the video of Tech selling similar off of a perfect listing he's built, and it's faster than list perfectly and it's 100% accurate. But I don't know, it's just kind of interesting that the cultural mindset.
Yeah, because I think, okay, here's the part that we'll end on. Actually, you know what? Sorry, YouTube, we'll keep it private.